Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to First Things First. We got new animation. We got four-wheel vehicles.
Brand new truck.
It is a
Fancy.
Tuesday morning. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. Boy, we were lucky. We got a little rare Tuesday night football last night. We'll discuss that. But big news out of the NFL this morning, and we will start right there. The Jets releasing Le'Veon Bell last night. He only played 17 games after he signed a 4-year, $52 million contract. Bell was unhappy with his role in that Jets offense. Head coach Adam Gase was rumored to be unhappy with Bell. I mean, this almost felt inevitable. GM Joe Douglas said they explored trade options, but in the end decided to release the two-time All-Pro. Le'Veon anxious to move on, tweeting this, "Got a lot to prove. I'm ready to go." So, Brandon, let's kick off the conversation with you. What does this latest move by the Jets say about the current state of the Jets organization, of the whole franchise?
Yeah, I mean, what is this, a new episode in Jet TV? I want to go back to when I was traded to New York. There was a lot of talk about, it's a circus. And when I got there, it was awesome inside that building. The service that they delivered and how they took care of their players. So I think there's a lot of outside perception that's not necessarily true internally. But now looking at this situation the last 2 years, you got to think, is this what everybody was talking about, right? This reminds me of the second coming of Rich Kotite. Like, is this that era? Is it that bad?
It's worse.
Think about this. Like, Le'Veon Bell has been there for almost 2 years, and he's never had a good game. One game. And this is one of the most premier backs in all of NFL. So, to me, this is the second coming of the Rich Kotite era. This is really, really bad, and it's showing you that nobody in that organization is bad. It was doomed from the beginning. McCagan brought him in, and Gase didn't want him, and it was never a good fit.
Nope. All right, Brandon, I hate to do this to you. I apologize. Kevin Wilds, I got a quick question for you. The Jets treated Brandon so well, he wouldn't play for them for how much money?
I think it's $2 million.
It was $10 million. It was $10 million. Brandon told his agent. Yeah, Brandon told his agent, and tell him to keep that $10 million. I'll go literally anywhere else. And here's the thing. Since then, it's only gotten worse. There is one person related to the Jets who this morning and this year looks brilliant. And that person is C.J. Mosley. Because C.J. Mosley looked around and said, you know what? I'm going to sit this year out. I know I got a bunch of money to make, but I'll make that next year. I'm going to go ahead and watch this year from home. And I just looked at the Jets' schedule, and they max out at 1 win. Their best-case scenario is 1-15, looking at the rest of the way. And they better find a way to beat Miami, which I don't know if they can, or else that's an 0-16 team written all over it. They have the worst coach in the league. They have the worst offense in the league. It's a disaster, and they never, and Brandon nailed it, Wilds, the moment they signed Le'Veon Bell, they seemed to start a feud with him. It's like the moment he got there, why are you here? Well, you invited me here. No, I didn't. Well, I just signed the contract. Get out. We've been waiting for this to happen since seemingly well before he was bowling the night before a game when he was ruled out with the flu. It's just a disastrous match, Wilds.
I forgot about the bowling story, Bowling Gate. Look, there's some criticism that should have waited
That was
longer.
his best game with the Jets, Wilds. The 251 bowling. It was his best game with the Jets.
I forgot about that. Look, there's some criticism that they should have waited longer, like maybe another running back would go down and they would find a new trade partner. They should have taken this earlier. Because once a relationship gets to the stage where you start liking tweets, you're in a bad spot. So the other day he started liking, as much as I hate the idea, the Jets should trade Le'Veon Bell. Liked by Le'Veon Bell. Hey, the Jets should trade Le'Veon Bell. I love the guy, but I'm tired of Gase. Liked by Le'Veon Bell. The usage of Le'Veon Bell is inexcusable. Liked by Le'Veon Bell. So, look, he knew he was on the trade market, but once it got to this point, Joe Douglas was like, that's it. You know, you've never had a good game here, but the tweet liking is too much, Jenna. You gotta go.
So,
all right, well, clearly Bell feels like he's got much more in the tank. You saw his tweet. So where does he go? Well, Fox Bet, believe it or not, had the Steelers as favorites to trade for L. Bell before his release. I mean, it's an enticing possibility. He certainly knows the system. Tomlin certainly knows how to play him. Brandon, would it make sense for the Steelers to bring Le'Veon Bell back? He did sit out that whole year. There was clearly animosity there between the two sides.
Yeah, but there was something funky going on last year where there were some rumblings that the Steelers was actually in talks with the Jets. The Jets was trying to trade Le'Veon last year, going back to October, and they just didn't get it done. And it could have been the #1 landing spot then. I think this happens, and it'll be good for Le'Veon, it'll be good for football, it'll be good for us. You got to think about this. The Pittsburgh Steelers hasn't changed their identity in 25 years. They play zone defense, and they're a power O running offense. This fits Le'Veon. This fits what they're trying to do. There's something that says, man, if you turn on the film, you may not see the same Le'Veon. But one thing that doesn't really change much is your vision as a running back. You see Frank Gore. Frank Gore lost a step, but Frank Gore's feet and his vision is still premium. And Le'Veon, just 2 years ago, was one of the most premier backs in the NFL. And then he took the year off, and then you saw Ezekiel Elliott take that spot, and then also Todd Gurley, and there was a couple others that emerged. But this guy can easily go in there and make an impact right away. I would love to see him in Pittsburgh. The only thing we're missing outside of, defense strapping it down in the secondary is Big Ben getting it done with the deep ball. He's been like 27% on like 20-something throws down the field. It's awful, but adding him could potentially help that.
Look, I'm an emotional guy. You know I want Gronk back. I want Brady back eventually, but I don't think I would do this, Nick. There's two ways to go. You can either, like, sharpen the sword. The Steelers are pretty good. But, look, the Steelers are pretty good. Like, let's get even better. Or, hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yes.
If it doesn't work out, and I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm like, oh, my goodness, I knew this was going to not work. Why did I do this? I think the Steelers are fine. I would not make the move, Nick.
I think so two things. One is, I think the history's wrong. There was not some personality dispute between Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers. It was financial. It was purely that Le'Veon Bell didn't want to play another year under the franchise tag, wanted a boatload of money, and the Steelers smartly, it would appear, did not want to pay a running back a boatload of money. This was not the Antonio Brown situation, and we shouldn't compare the two. But I think Wildes is being a little disingenuous here. I think he's trying to be like, no, we shouldn't go to the Steelers. It's a bad breakup, all these things, because he knows where Le'Veon's going to go. Yes.
No, here's
and
why.
I know, too.
No.
And I'm premature.
No.
Wildes, I'm prematurely angry about it. Because in 3 weeks, the New England Patriots are going to have Cam Newton and Le'Veon Bell for a combined salary of like one Taysom Hill game check. And I'm going to lose my bleeping mind. Because there's no running back that would fit what the Patriots like to do, which is have a running back come out of the backfield, line up in the slot, or hand in the ball, than L. Bell. Wildes, you know that's what you're hoping for.
No, here's
that's
the
why
thing.
you're being like, no, don't go to Pittsburgh. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, yes. If he wants to win, fine. If he's like, you know what, I need to get some W's under my belt, I need another ring, or his first ring, I'd be like, fine. But Brandon, I actually don't think it would be a fit. Same reason I might not think it's going to be a fit in Pittsburgh. It's like it feels like he wants a lot of carries to prove himself. If he never had 100-yard games.
Absolutely.
So if we're not going to give him enough, then I don't think it's going to be a fit.
No, obviously he wants the ball, and he should get the ball, and that's why Pittsburgh makes sense. But you do have Connor, who's running the ball really well. He's averaging 4.9 yards a carry. But if that's Le'Veon Bell, off of his vision alone, that could easily be 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, so then
all right, again, the news last night, Jets releasing Le'Veon Bell after failing to find a team willing to trade for him. Switching gears, why is Bruce Arians so happy that Tom Brady is so unhappy on Sundays? We'll discuss next. First things first. To the Bucs now. I don't know. Tom Brady didn't follow that whole thought through. To the Bucs now. All right, Tom Brady hasn't been shy this season letting guys know when he's, let's call it, unhappy with them. He's been seen multiple times. You've seen this on the sideline, calling out teammates, yelling at the bench, throwing his tablet. We saw that last week. Bruce Arians was asked about Brady's recent outbursts. Take a listen to this.
when you see Brady get fired up, yelling at some of his offensive linemen for the penalties that were committed on Thursday night, do you like that? Do you understand that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How do you gauge that type of interaction between your quarterback and his offensive line?
Just be yourself. I don't have any problem with it. At least I don't have to go back there and cuss them out. They've already got the earful by the time I get over there. So Tom's got to be Tom. I'm not going to ask him to be somebody different. He does a good job of patting him on the back, too. He might explode, but he's going to go down there and pat him on the back and get him going.
All right, Brandon, what'd you make of what Bruce Arians had to say?
So every Monday, I take off to New York to shoot our show on Showtime Inside the NFL. Tuesday, after the show, around 3 o'clock, I board another flight, and I come back home. Last night, I tried to break down every team. Right, I was trying to get ahead of it. I'm like, okay, there's still a lot of football left to be played. Let me see what's going around, what's happening around the league, and what we should be watching out for. So when I got to the Bucs, here's what I found. They're the worst team in the league when it comes to penalties. Their offensive line lead the league in penalties. If I'm Tom Brady, I'll be yelling at them too. Because you come from New England Patriots where if you shoot yourself in the foot, take off and run around. And I know it's like, okay, how can I shoot myself in the foot and still run? But you get it, what I'm saying. They do not beat themselves. That's what Tom Brady is used to the last 20 years. So, of course, he's going to be angry. So, first of all, when you look at how undisciplined this team is, and they've been undisciplined for the last 2 years, I would be mad as well. Because when you're facing 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20 over and over and over again, you have no chance to win. That's one of the reasons why they lost in Chicago on Thursday Night Football. Let's then go back to who Tom Brady is, period. We can't be fickle here, folks. We have seen Tom Brady in Super Bowl 51 come back from 28-3 and use that same tenacity, that same emotion, that same passion, cursing out Gronkowski, cursing out Coach McDaniels. We can't say in one moment, oh, this is awesome. This is what a leader's supposed to do. And another say, well, is the team are they going to respond to this? Well, obviously they have, because what he's done is won 6 Super Bowls. What he's done is won back-to-back divisional titles for 20-something years, it seems like.
I agree with almost all of that. The only small issue I will take is I would imagine he is going to be a little less vociferous on the sidelines this coming week when the most recent game ended with him asking for a 5th down and nobody yelled at him. And a little reminder that, you know, even the greatest of all time can make mistakes. So maybe when Ali Marpet gets a holding penalty, I shouldn't freak out the way I do. But you're right. He's always been a yeller and a screamer. More often than not, it was to either Bill O'Brien when he was the OC there or Josh McDaniels. Not as often was it the teammates, but that was because the teammates weren't making these types of mistakes. And Wilds, this is where I think so much of the commentary last year missed the boat. Because people may very well have been right that Tom Brady didn't have a lot of weapons. But at least the weapons that he had, to continue Brandon's analogy, never shot themselves. And now he's going to be on a team, or he is on a team, with a ton of weapons. But he's also back in general population of the NFL, where you're going to be penalized, you're going to have back-breaking mental mistakes by teammates, and that's a world Tom Brady hasn't had to live in. So maybe while Bill Belichick didn't surround him with the greatest cast of receivers at his last few years in New England, at least they weren't making these types of mistakes. And what Brady is having to deal with this year is what almost every team, every quarterback has to deal with at some point in their career, which is, man, my team can't get out of its own way. And I imagine that's frustrating for everyone, Wilds, but particularly for Tom, who never had to deal with that for 20 years. Go ahead, Brandon.
Let me show you let me show you the graphic, Brandon. Here, Katana, can we hit the graphic? Because I think it illustrates Brandon's point on how disciplined the Patriots were. Look, this is total this year, and I know we missed a game. We've only got 3 penalties for 17 yards. So, you know, it's my old favorite saying. I've said it on the show before. Herm Edwards told me, you're either teaching it or allowing it to happen, and Bruce Arians is allowing it to happen. So I think Tom Brady, although we've never seen him yell, like you said, Nick, He's yelling at coaches. Now he's got to yell at the players because Bruce Arians isn't. So I think this is like something Tom didn't expect. Go ahead, Jenna.
Brandon, do you want that coming from? I can understand once in a while coming from your quarterback.
Yes, Jenna, yes.
But don't you want that message?
Exactly
you don't want that message coming? Okay, and it doesn't want that from the head coach. Does that take away from who the head coach is?
It can come from either. When you're Tom Brady, and you are who you are, and you've had all that success, it probably resonates a little bit more because of the success you've had. Remember all the stories that were coming out of camp when guys got back. They're like, wow, when he walks in the locker room, it's just different. When he walks in the locker room, we're like, if we don't match his intensity, then we're failing. So, yeah, it could come from the coach, but it's sometimes even better coming from the Russell Wilson. Sometimes it's better coming from the Ray Lewises of the world. It's just better when it comes from the star players because there's nobody that can hold us more accountable than our fellow locker mate. Nobody. And here's another thing, too, while Tom should be angry and frustrated, is because for the past 2 years, this team has been the most penalized. That's a fact. And then also, this past week, we had the least amount of penalties per game in 46 years. They're just not calling it.
Wow.
They're letting guys hold. Yep. So for them to lead the league in penalties and also yards, it's alarming. And this is a guy that comes from structure. This is a guy that comes from discipline. Yep. This is a guy that knows that it comes down to 1 or 2 moments in the game. And if you don't have the discipline and you don't understand situational football, you can't win.
He also, though, and again, to be fair to Tom Brady's teammates, who obviously we know if the Bucs season goes awry, they will be the ones blamed. If you want to be able to call everybody out for their mistakes, you got to make less yourself. And not just
that's not true. That's not, Nick. No. When LeBron makes mistakes, LeBron has that privilege. Tom Brady has that privilege. MJ has that privilege. When you are who you are, of course, we're not expecting everyone to be perfect, but Tom Brady has that privilege when he makes a mistake. Okay. No, you can say something to me.
That's fine.
But
I just think it resonates more if you're not the 25th best quarterback in football that year. That's all.
But he's done that. But Nick, think about it. That's also what made New England great.
He used to be awesome.
That Bill Belichick was able. Bill Belichick stood in front of the meeting room and called Tom Brady out. So if you want to hold Tom Brady accountable, you can. He's done it his entire career.
Okay.
All right. Well, Jordan never made
I think it resonates more if he plays better.
That's true.
Brady might be particularly spicy Sunday. Bucks hosting the Packers, the undefeated Packers. The Titans put a stiff arm on the Bills last night, much the way Derrick Henry did. The rare Tuesday night football. Next. First things first.
That's just bad.
Welcome back. Today on FS1, the NLCS continuing. Game 3, Mookie Betts and the Dodgers trying to get back in that series against Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves. Coverage begins 5 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. My favorite time of the show, drawing a blank. Let's do it, guys. Battle of the undefeateds last night. Ryan Tannehill out-dueling Josh Allen as the Titans improved to a perfect 4-0. Buffalo defense couldn't stop a nosebleed in this one. I hate that expression, and I wrote it. Brandon, the biggest takeaway from the Titans' 42-16 win versus the Bills was blank.
Josh Allen struggles. I mean, it's as clear as day. I mean, he was off the mark. He was missing his wide receivers. He threw a couple INTs. It's all on him. Now, the defense, they missed White. The secondary wasn't good. They couldn't tackle. They gave up some big plays. But at the end of the day, this is your moment. I've been talking about you for 5 weeks now, and you go out there and do this. But guess what? I know Coach Dayball is going to get after you, and you're going to get this thing back on track. Josh Allen struggles.
Embarrassing for you, Brandon.
Okay, listen, I'm nothing if not a good teammate and a charitable person.
Oh, boy.
So my biggest takeaway while I was watching Josh Allen give us the full Josh Allen was I'm going to offer my friend Brandon Marshall a mulligan. Brandon, I'm going to let you take it all back. You can jump off this train before it's lights on fire. You can
don't do this,
rescind
Brandon.
your Bills are going to beat the Chiefs prediction, and I won't
Don't you
hold
do
it
it,
against
buddy.
you.
Really?
You can, yeah.
Really?
If you want to do it right now,
Brandon?
I will let you do
For
it.
me?
Would you like to do it?
Stay strong.
Yeah.
For me. No,
do it.
I'm doubling
Full
down.
force.
This is good for
There you
Buffalo
go.
and bad for KC. When you're a team trying to figure it out and you get hit in the mouth like this galvanizes your team. You go into KC next, you play KC next week. This is going to be really, really bad for your Chiefs, Nick. I'm telling you, this is a really good team.
All right, now, by the way, just real quick, Wilds, Brandon, you're now tied to this all year. I've given you an opportunity to jump off. Now, every time he looks like this, I'm going to text you, and I'm going to demand it be in the show. This is your one opportunity. It's over. It's a wrap. No. We're done.
When we
We're done here. We're done here. Wilds, go. We're done. We're done. Give him the opportunity.
Hey, I feel like the NFL, about Tannehill, not Josh Allen, I feel like the NFL has loosened the rules a little bit on celebrations, but I think they should tighten them up. If you celebrate this poorly, where it looks like you're going to injure yourself, wave it off. Wave off the touchdown. Huge penalty. If you're going to celebrate and land this awkwardly, off. It's something the NFL should look into.
I thought he
Jeff.
blew out his knee, man.
Bill Gramatica, yes, of course, yeah. Bill Gramatica, 2010.
They still would've
Stephen
won.
Tolick, 2014. Yeah, don't do that.
That's happened. All right, sticking with that game, you guys see this, Derrick Henry just tossing Josh Norman last night with that Herculean stiff arm. Just another day, toting the rock for King Henry. So, Brandon, Derrick Henry's stiff arm on Josh Norman was blank. Get over there.
Woo! This was disrespectful. This is the worst thing that can happen to you as a football player, I feel. It's like being posterized in basketball. I mean, this will forever live with you. This is bad. And look, he just bounces off the turf. This is really bad. I mean, come on. Did you not watch film coming into this game? He only stiff-armed someone at least 2 times a week. Come on, man. This is terrible.
You know, I hate to rain on this. I'm going to say it's a tad overrated. To me, it reminds me of what LeBron did to Tyler Hero in the open court in the beginning of Game 4. It's like, what did you expect? Josh Norman ain't out there to tackle folks. He certainly ain't out there to tackle Derrick Henry. He's trying to cover people. So what'd you expect to happen here? You have a 6'4", 230-pound rushing champ and an older cornerback going after him. This is how that is supposed to go. So, Wilds, I say, this is not a Jim Brown level on a pursuing linebacker stiff arm. It's a tad overrated, just a bit.
It's pretty good. You know,
Just a
one of
tad
our
overrated.
favorite football analysis, Pro Football Focus, which describes itself as analyzing every player, every play of every game to deliver player grades, stats, and rankings for the NFL, fantasy, NFL draft. Also, solid jokes. Solid jokes. Josh Norman might be the second Bills player to ever retire at halftime. Solid joke out of PFF. Bravo, guys.
Vontae Davis
right.
slander.
Tom Brady
Yeah, loved it.
and the Bucs getting ready for that guy right there, Aaron Rodgers and the undefeated Green Bay Packers. And Bruce Arians saying yesterday he can't play scared of Rodgers. Brandon, Bruce Arians' comments on Aaron Rodgers are blank.
Proof that he's nervous. And I don't blame him. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we could be seeing the best Aaron Rodgers we have ever seen. Like, this guy is getting older and he's getting better. I don't have my number 1 wide receiver. I don't have my number 2 receiver. I still get it done. The running game is awesome. Defensively, they're getting to the quarterback. We got to clean up a few things. But you know what? I can still get it done over here on the offensive side. Aaron Rodgers is super hot right now, and I would be nervous if I'm coach as well.
Yeah, to me, if this is actually their approach, that's a recipe for a blowout. Right now, you should be terrified of Aaron Rodgers, and you should coach your game plan accordingly, which is to do everything you can to make anyone else on the Packers beat you. If this is just coach speak, then whatever. This is recipe for a blowout. Real quick, Brandon, what drill is this? What drill is that where he's just getting tossed the ball
Going to your
quickly?
kids'
I
drill.
know, what is he working on there? I don't even understand. All right.
It's right.
Yeah, I mean.
It's just pat and go. That's what we call just pat and go. Just warm it up. That's all. That's what we do. The first thing we do when we go out on the field as receivers and quarterbacks.
Oh, okay. It didn't seem that helpful.
I can't-
that
I-
didn't look very hard.
I can't believe Nick didn't know that. You know what it reminded me of? Little Anthony Lynn versus your Kansas City Chiefs. When instead of going for it, he kicks the ball. He's like, I'm not scared of Patrick Mahomes. Like, surprise, surprise, they kick the field goal, you lose the game. So I think they need to be a little bit scared and be aggressive on offense and try to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. Another free shot at the Chiefs I just took.
All right.
Yep.
To New England now, where Cam Newton's status is up in the air for Sunday's game against Denver. Coach Bill Belichick saying, I'm not sure exactly what the schedule is for Cam. So, Brandon, assuming Cam is out for Sunday, the chances Patriots fall below 500 against the Denver Broncos are blank.
Slim, Jenna. I think I like Hoyer. Hoyer, outside of those two bonehead mistakes, he would have beat KC. They would have beat him. Yes, they would have.
Oh, my God.
So this is Slim. The Broncos are struggling. I don't even know. The coach doesn't even know the Broncos starting quarterback's name. Kyle Ripken, John Ripken, Terrell Ripken. It's bad for the Broncos right now.
Daryl Ripken. Oh, my God. It's Mark Ripken's nephew. But regardless, the answer's close to 0%. It's close to 0%. I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Patriots. They're not going to lose to either Drew Lock coming back off injury or Ripken in the second career start. So close to 0%, which is oddly wild. Very close to the percentage chance the Patriots had of actually beating the Chiefs, no matter how much you guys try to revisit that game like it was ever in doubt. You bunch of charlatans. But go ahead. That's really starting to irritate me. Oh, they almost lost to the Patriots. They never trailed.
Patriots.
Yeah,
against the junior varsity Patriots. You guys won. You got. I gave you a small match of like holding the dynasty. Hey, guess who's back? The Javelin. Get ready to get back to work. Javelin, remember, you don't own the house. You're just house sitting. I don't need you to do any remodeling. I don't need you to paint my kid's room. Just water the plants. Don't burn the place down. That's it. Nice and easy. Some easy dink and dunks. Let's get out of there with a win. That's what have Cam come back.
All right, on to San Francisco now. Jimmy G was pulled Sunday during the Niners' blowout loss to the Dolphins. Said afterwards, I'm the quarterback of this team. I smell a controversy, even from here in my makeshift studio bedroom. Brandon, murmurs of Jimmy Garoppolo possibly losing his job are blank.
Jenna, if this is what's really happening, then it's perfect timing. You got to think about it. Seattle Seahawks, they're playing lights out. The Rams are actually playing really good. Why? Because they can finally run the ball again. So you got to look at this. We're banged up. We just lost to the Miami Dolphins, got smacked in the face. So if we want to go get our quarterback that could potentially be the face of the franchise for the next 10 years, this is the perfect timing. Why not? Why not?
This is echoes of the offseason. You knew that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch knew he wasn't the guy the moment they were flirting with senior citizen Tom Brady and telling the truth about it and not even hiding that they were flirting with Brady right after Garoppolo had quarterbacked them in the Super Bowl. And I don't know, Wilds, if people have looked at the Niners' upcoming schedule, but how about this? Rams, Patriots, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Rams, Bills. This team absolutely could end up with the top 5 draft pick, to Brandon's point, that they could end up drafting their next quarterback.
The Rams-Patriots got a Patriots-Niners game coming up. You know what I think? Have a little socially distanced lunch between Jimmy G and Bill Belichick. What's going on? Oh, there's rumors that Jimmy G is up for grabs. We'll take him back. Cam's only on a 1-year deal. I want Cam. I'm a Cam guy. But if it doesn't work out, Cam needs to go get a big payday.
No. Who do you want? Who do you want? No, pick. Who do you want?
Cam. 100% Cam. 100% Cam. 100% Cam.
What are you
doing?
Like some backups.
What's happening?
Some backups.
All right, back to our top story this morning.
Insurance
the Jets
policies.
releasing Le'Veon Bell last night. Could he actually be headed back to Pittsburgh? We'll discuss next. First things first. Why were those binoculars? Coming up today, we got Game 3 between the Dodgers and Braves. Dodgers looking for a way to get back into the series. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on FS1. Back here with Coach Mangini, we're talking about the defending Super Bowl champs. Their 13-game regular season win streak snapped Sunday by Derek Carr. And the Raiders, Patrick Mahomes, struggled at times in this one. Don't take our word for it. Mahomes himself said, quote, "It's nice to kind of get this wake-up call that you can lose in this league any single week. We were kind of riding on that win streak. It felt like we couldn't lose to anybody, but now we know, and hopefully it's a good thing for us and not a bad thing." Coach, let me start with you. Should Chiefs fans be worried?
He's so happy.
I know, he's ready for this. He's been ready for this for a really long time. But the fact that the Chiefs needed a wake-up call. You know what? You go. Take it, Coach. I know you're salivating for a segment like this.
Well, no, I mean, I remember that streak that New England had was going to be broken. It was a done deal. There was no chance that it would last, but here we are, and here we are. I don't think this is a wake-up call. This is more like they hit the snooze button after they played the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers should have been their initial wake-up call, and then this just reinforces what I've said over and over and over again: is learning how to win consistently is a very difficult thing, and it's like any other skill set. It has to be trained, and as much as Patrick Mahomes is like Superman, there's some weeks that Superman, can't do it. Hits his kryptonite, and other people have to step up. And the difficult thing about going through this process is that each week, every single team is giving their best effort to you. And it is really difficult as a team to be up every single week, especially if the perception is the team isn't as good as us. And I remember back in 2002, we started out great. We blew up the Steelers, then we blew up the Jets. I think it was 44-13. Then we win a nail-biter against Kansas City, and we score 41 points. And then we lose 4 straight games. And it was one of those things where, as much as we thought, okay, we'll get right next week, there's real learning that has to go into that. And the value in this loss, if there can be a value in a loss, is understanding what you have to do week in and week out in order to match the intensity of your opponents. And it is not an easy thing.
Love it. Okay.
Love it.
So the Chiefs played really poorly against the Raiders. The offense can be way better than it was, scoring only 32 points. And the defense was obviously bad throughout the game. And if you are going to point to an issue of concern, actual concern, not manufactured false concern because the Chiefs have seemed invincible for 10 months, it is that offensive line is playing the worst it's played in 3 years. Mitchell Schwartz has been the best right tackle in football for 3 years. He has not played like it. And in this Raiders game, their biggest offseason addition, Kelechi Osemele, their left guard, blew out both of his knees. So that, to me, is a real, legitimate concern point and something that needs to get better. But this idea that they've been sleepwalking since the Chargers game. Yeah, all they did since the Chargers game was blow out the Ravens and blow out the Patriots. That's all. And this idea that the Chiefs are in some massive trouble when they're one of the only 2 teams in the league with a top 8 scoring offense and a top 8 scoring defense is foolishness. And the idea that the Chiefs have these glaring holes when in a 32-team league there is one, Seattle, who has more wins than them is obviously insane on its face. And finally, Brandon, I have been hearing for 2.5 years, better watch out. The league's going to figure out Mahomes. Oh, there's been something that's been unlocked. And then he has proven that to be insane. So maybe all of a sudden it's just, it's reached midnight for the Cinderella Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to say they played a bad game against a divisional rival, and they're going to be fine. That's my take.
So you tried to anticipate where I was going. You thought that I was going to say that the league figured. Yeah, so you're trying to.
Yeah.
I love it. No, here's the situation. And I'm going to go to the other side, Coach. I don't believe that it's a wake-up call. I think that the league has finally figured out how to slow them down. Not figured them out to where they're not going to be great, they're not going to be good, they can't go in the game and just blow a team out. But we know now how to slow them down. I've said it 3 times on the show in 5 weeks. You go back to week 14, 2019, the Patriots put it on film, play zone. That's what you do, and take away the screen. And what did they do this year? Patriots did the same thing. What did the Raiders do? The same thing. But, Nick, you said something, and you took the words out of my mouth. Their issue is not that it's a wake-up call and they hit the snooze button. Their issue is that on the offensive side, they are second worst in the league in giving up pressure. And it doesn't help that their left guard went down with 2 blown-out knees.
Yep.
But this guy is also part of the problem. Mahomes is also part of the problem because he drifts in the pocket. So when you see him run around and he can't get the ball out of his hands, or there's nobody coming open, and we're used to him making big plays outside the pocket, we're seeing this great defense, great offense become average. Because we know on the defensive side, they've never been great. So this team is built to put up 40, 50 points. So if you slow down this offense, and then if you are able to put up points, then you're in the battle. And that's what we're seeing here.
Coach, can you explain something to me? The old Bill Parcells rule, like your record is your record. And sometimes I believe that. And then I watched the Patriots lose to the Seahawks, and I was like, I don't know, I feel pretty good about that. And I've been watching the Chiefs. And like, all right, Chiefs beat the Texans. Texans end up firing their coach. We knew that they were a disaster. Then they barely beat the Chargers on 2 58-yard field goals. And if Anthony Lynn decides to keep the ball, Anthony Lynn probably win. Then you smash the Ravens. Bravo, there's a good win. Then you scored 6 points on the JV Patriots as Brian Hoyer doesn't know what he's doing and Jarrett Stidham's throwing interceptions. And then you lose to the Raiders.
6 points.
So, yeah, you're 6 points at halftime. 6-3. You're winning 6-3 at half. Okay. And then it all kind of fell apart. Then the javelin came in. But the idea that was a blowout, like that game was way closer than it was. And you're playing the JV squad. Anyways, Coach, is there reason to be concerned because, like, hey, the way that we're winning these games is not impressive? Or it's like, no, man, you're overthinking it. A win is a win. That's the way football works.
Well, at the end of the day, a win is a win. And you're going to be happy if you come out on the positive side. But the issue is a little bit of the way that Nick has approached things, where there's this assumption that you're going to break the streak of consecutive wins. There's an assumption that things are going to get right. There's an assumption that you're going to win the game. You look at the Chargers game. It's a rookie quarterback in his first start, and it's 2 58-yard field goals in overtime with a couple minutes left to win that game. So yeah, you can go into every single game with the assumption that Patrick Mahomes is going to be unbelievable, that everybody's going to rise up. But one of the things that made Jerry Rice great is he went into every single day assuming he was going to get cut. He went into every single practice with that type of work ethic and dedication, and that's what made him great when he was already great. That's what allowed him to sustain the success. And if you collectively take a week off, or you collectively think that this team can't beat me, that's where you struggle. And I'm not saying this because it's the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm saying this is because it's what I experienced after winning the Super Bowl, is that at times, as much as you want to say it won't happen, human nature is to relax, and you have to learn that you can't relax in that position. And it's a hard thing to learn and to realize and to incorporate into your everyday routine.
Listen, I understand what's happening here. I am what is called a sore winner. When things are going my team's way, whether it's LeBron or the Chiefs, I am really obnoxious. And so folks are reveling, especially you four, are reveling in this moment. But I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Right now, and Coach, Wilds, Brandon, anybody, is there a team in the AFC that you think, as we sit here today on October 14th, 2020, is better positioned than the Chiefs to make this year's Super Bowl? Is there an AFC team you would take over the Chiefs right now? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Anybody?
It's not about, Nick, it's not about right now. It's about what are you capable of doing throughout the entire season? What are you capable of doing when it comes December? Are you where you need to be? So I can name a couple teams. So the Colts will be in position, could possibly be in position. The Steelers, the Titans, the Ravens. There's 4 teams right there that are more than capable of beating them any given Sunday.
Hey, Nick, when we were...
You got to prove it, you got to earn it, and you got to prove it every single week. Every single play, to Coach's point, you have to prove it. You can't just go off of, oh, we have Patrick Mahomes, we have 3, 4 wide receivers and tight ends. You can't do that.
When we were in New England in 2001, we were 5-5. Bill showed a horse race, and he showed the horse race, and he stopped it midway through, and he said, who's ahead? And someone named whatever horse it was, and he goes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's ahead at that point. It matters who's ahead at the end. And you saw Pete Carroll talk about, can you win the game in the first quarter? Well, look, there's a lot of things that can happen. Obviously, injuries can play a big part. And let's see how they respond to this adversity. And as much as we want to project out, X number of weeks down the line, the league has a strange way of changing things up because of the way that injuries take place. But that Tennessee team looked pretty rough last night with 2 days of practice.
I don't know what the Chiefs will ever do.
We got to move on. The Jets, guys, the Jets released All-Pro running back Lev Bell last night. Could he actually be headed back to Pittsburgh? We'll discuss next. First things first. Back here, first things first, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a tough loss to the Bears last Thursday night. Frustrations brewing for quarterback Tom Brady. He hasn't been shy this whole season letting guys know when he's unhappy with them. He's been seen multiple times on the sideline calling out teammates, yelling at the bench. We saw him throw that tablet last week. So what does his head coach think about it all? Take a listen.
When you see Brady get fired up, yelling at some of his offensive linemen for the penalties that were committed on Thursday night, do you like that? Do you understand that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How do you gauge that type of interaction between your quarterback and his offensive line?
Just be yourself. I don't have any problem with it. At least I don't have to go back there and cuss them out. They've already got the air full by the time I get over there. So Tom's got to be Tom. I'm not going to ask him to be somebody different. He does a good job of patting him on the back, too. He might explode, but he's going to go down there and pat him on the back and get him going.
Now joined by Eric Mangini. Coach, you've never, I'm sure, had to raise your voice ever to anyone under any circumstance, so this might be a foreign topic to you, ever. What was your reaction to what Bruce Arians had to say?
Well, being a player's coach like I was, I could, it's hard to relate to disciplinarians. But this is one of the difficult things. When you are a disciplinarian and when you are extremely demanding, one of the things that you're not going to be is popular, and you're not going to win that award, but you probably will win the most likely to succeed award. And we see that over and over again, whether it's Belichick or Tom Coughlin or take your pick. And the issue that comes up is it frees players from being the bad guy. When you're the holding everybody accountable as a head coach, it allows players to not have to be the bad guy, to not have to try to pull other guys up, to not have to deal with the penalties. There's a place where that's going to be dealt with, and that's what Tom has experienced in New England. And now he's in a situation where there's, what are the highest penalized team? He's in a situation that he's never been in before, and it doesn't make sense to him, and he's trying to get it right. Now, the difficult thing is Tom's cachet, as much as he's Tom Brady, he hasn't won in Tampa Bay. And when you bring in free agents, you want them to have that pop, but they don't have that pop until they do it in that locker room with that team. So it's hard for him to have the impact that he wants on this group, and it's a difficult position for him to be in, to have to try to handle disciplinary matters.
And Coach, I got a quick question for you, and then I'll go on. If, for example, you are someone who is an absolute stickler for people being on time, what is it important that you are always?
On time.
Okay. So if you're Tom Brady and you are going to dog cuss guys when they make mistakes, it's probably important that the only two categories you don't lead the NFL in are pick sixes and forgetting the downs. He's 20th in completion percentage, 24th in yards per attempt, and 16th in passer rating.
That's ridiculous.
He's number one in those two, though. Oh, okay, Brandon. Brandon, you
it's
said,
ridiculous.
Why is that ridiculous?
He's earned it right. Because it's Tom Brady, and over the past 20 years in New England. We've heard all these stories of Tom sitting in the front row and Bill Belichick holding Tom Brady accountable. You don't see that in the NFL. You don't see a head coach hold their superstars accountable. And that's what usually breaks down this team. So when you talk about being held accountable, if you want to hold Tom Brady accountable, do it. Do it. But the reality is he has earned the right to hold his team accountable. And, Coach, you talked about, well, yeah, it should come from a coach. But there's nothing wrong with it coming from a player. And we've seen Tom Brady over the years on the sideline, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday football, just a Sunday regular game, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, walk up and down the sideline, chewing out Edelman, chewing out Gronk, chewing out Coach McDaniels, chewing out the coach that just got fired in Houston. So please, let's not be fickle here. Let's not do that because we can't put him on a platform and say, yo, this is how leadership looks. And then on the other side, we knock him down.
Brandon, I agree with you in that, but one major thing has changed. He's not as good as he was, and he hasn't won with these guys.
He just threw 5 touchdowns. Nick, you just last week, you just came in here last week and said, "Oh, Tom Brady threw for 5 touchdowns. Everybody should be happy." Then all of a sudden, he has the whole debacle, the 4th down debacle, and now you want to crush him again.
It's not just that. No, that's not fair and that's not right. It is. I was not the one throwing Tom Brady a parade for a great second half against the Chargers, which, by the way, I thought wins against the Chargers didn't count. But never mind. It has to. It has to matter. It is easier to hold guys accountable, whether you're the GOAT or not, if your standard is still that high. But if you are making some of these mistakes, if you are making some mental mistakes, I think it's harder to then hold guys accountable, especially when he's been to wars with Edelman, wars with Gronk, with McDaniels. To Coach's point, he hadn't done this with any of these guys, and he hasn't been great this year. So the idea that it's going to resonate the same, I think is... I just think it's crazy.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue. No, here's the issue. When we hear rumblings coming out of the locker room, then we're going to know it's a problem. We haven't heard Mike Evans. We haven't heard Fournette. We haven't heard Wirfs. We haven't heard JPP. We haven't heard any of these guys come out and say, "Man, we're tired of Tom Brady." Everybody is speaking glowingly about Tom Brady. Please, this is the same Tom Brady that won 6 Super Bowls and don't change now. I don't care if you're in a new uniform. I don't care if you're in snow. I don't care if you're in sunny South Florida. Be who you are.
Look, one of the things about bringing Tom Brady in. Go ahead.
No, Coach, I want to get your reaction to this graphic because, like Herm Edwards famously told me, like you're either teaching or allowing it to happen. It seems like Bruce Arians allowing it to happen. So if Tom Brady's not yelling at people, somebody's got to. But the question I have for you is this. What does it actually do? Like, take me through it. Like, obviously everybody knows, like, hey, don't hold. Don't get penalties. Like, what? And Joe Judge is making people run laps. Like, how do you actually become a disciplinarian other than just yelling and making people run laps? Obviously, they don't want to hold.
Well,
so is this, what do you do now?
It's not just about running laps. It's about holding guys accountable in every aspect of what they do. And when you are a disciplinarian, look at Nick Saban. You can add him to the list. When you are a coach like that, the players are free to encourage each other. They're free. They almost bond in their reaction to you. And Buddy Ryan used to talk about that all the time. Is they were going to initially start out hating him, and then when they let him in, they really had something. But guys didn't have to push each other. Guys didn't have to didn't have to yell at each other for mistakes in New England, because that was going to be handled, which allowed them to develop relationships and which allowed them to push each other in different ways. And there is a freeing element to that when the head coach is the bad guy, when the head coach is taking that position. And now for Tom to after all the years of being in a place that he's used to having that organizational discipline, to be in this scenario, it's got to be a little bit mind-boggling to him, and it's difficult. And I've talked about this before too, Nick, is you got to be careful what you wish for. As much as you want to go and have a good time in Tampa and have fun, you get this other side that can be really hard to navigate through.
Huh. It's not. Can I get a side by side with Nick these last 30 seconds? It's not hard, because let's go to the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. Let me tell you this story, Nick. I called Elvis Dumerville when Peyton Manning first got there. I said, "Tell me about Peyton." And you know what he said? He said, "Brandon, this guy is who everybody talks about, how he takes control of the entire organization. We go out there with the script." And he said, one day, Peyton Manning stopped the entire practice. He told Coach, "Throw the script away, I'm running practice." And he literally went through every single period. That's Peyton Manning. Here's Tom Brady. Peyton didn't change when he went to Denver. He ended up winning the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's going to Tampa. He's not going to change. Let's see if we can win the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning couldn't throw 30 yards. In Denver. He couldn't throw 30 yards.
That was year 4. He threw 55 touchdowns and won the MVP.
Thank you so much.
Year 2.
Much more first things first after this. With Dak Prescott out for the season, Andy Dalton and only Andy Dalton appears to be in. Jerry Jones asked yesterday if the Cowboys could trade for a quarterback to take over the season, to which he responded, "Hey, we've got our quarterback in Andy Dalton." Ryan Westbrook is back with us now, but Brandon, I want to start with you. How does the Cowboys offense change with Andy Dalton under center?
The only thing that changes is the big plays, right? Like we saw Dak like this thread in the needle. There was one play that stood out to me where I was like, man, this guy's playing lights out and he has an amazing arm. And that's that play where it was you had Amari Cooper on a post. He took the middle and Dak threw it between two defenders. It could have easily gone the other way. So you won't see plays like this. You won't see Andy Dalton threading the needle, play after play after play. You're not going to have to change the playbook. It's not like you have a mobile quarterback, a running quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, where you take him out and then you have a Flacco sitting there on the bench, and now you have to reinvent your offense. So the playbook will stay the same. We're just not going to see the big plays. And as far as the wide receivers, there's a lot of trust. There's a lot of chemistry that he has to build there, because once the season starts, you don't take reps with the backup quarterback. When the number one receiver stands up there, whether it's Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup, the number one quarterback stands right, like, that's my guy, I'm throwing it to him. So they have a lot of work to do to get on the same page.
Brandon, I think you're right. I wouldn't change the offense very much at all. But the reason why you bring in a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton, who's been there and done that before, is because you don't want to have to change the offense. You don't want to put your offense in a situation where now we have a new quarterback and we all got to learn different things and do something totally different. This is what I would do if I was there being the offensive coordinator, though. I would want to run the ball a little bit more. It's going to help your offense get some continuity, some rhythm, especially with the quarterback that hasn't played in a very long time at all this season, hasn't played with these guys. But it also will help your defense just a little bit. Get them off the field, allow them to rest just a bit, because every time they touch the field, they're getting torched. I want to run the ball a little bit with Zeke, but I still want to get the ball out to those playmakers that we have on the outside. They're just too skilled to not get the ball to those guys, Cooper and Gallup, as well as CeeDee Lamb. Make sure that they touch it, but I want to run the ball with Zeke just to help the team win. Not because we need to win, not because we need to run, but it's going to help that defense an awful lot if you do that, Nick.
Hey, Nick, let me jump in here. I think we were all thrown for a loop a little bit with this Dallas Cowboys team. Coming in, there was talks of Super Bowls. I mean, this team was just stacked with talent. Then we sort of downgraded the bar a little bit and said, could they make the playoffs? And then they go and they lose Dak Prescott. Now you got Andy Dalton. What is considered, and you know that the division they play in is weaker than any other division. What is considered a successful season now with Andy Dalton under center?
There is no successful season. This is a season from hell for the Cowboys, and the only The only saving grace is they're in. Wild says the Chiefs played the JV Patriots. They are in the Division II division. They are, they're playing FCS schools to win their division, because of that. Okay,
I went to Villanova. Watch it.
Oh, sorry, I forgot Villanova's in the house. Villanova's in the house. My bad, Brian. I apologize. I apologize. It's right behind you. It's staring right at me. I know. My bad.
Right?
And so if they were in literally any of these 7 other divisions, we'd say the season's over. They have a bad defense and a backup quarterback, and they have struggled their way to the 2 wins they have. One win came after a crazy comeback against a winless team, including an onside kick, and the other win came against what might be the worst team in New York, and the Jets play in New York. So that's who their wins have come against. So this is, I think Cowboys fans, Brandon, are going to convince themselves, oh, he's fighting our way to 500. Getting in the playoffs is a success. No, it's not. It's not just because Dak got hurt. It's because the defense was that bad, and I don't think a defense can go from that bad to championship caliber over the course of a season. And that is, I know I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, so I look like the idiot. But I'm not. I was the only one on this show, but I was far from the only person out there, in the media or in prognostications to say this Cowboys team has the talent to be a Super Bowl contender, and that ship sailed long before Dak Prescott broke his ankle, Brandon.
Huh. Yeah, Nick, I mean, there's a lot of validity behind what you said. Like, us outsiders, looking in, we would assume that. We would think that, these guys are just like, it's over. We believe it's over. I think we know it's over. They have no chance because of their defense. And there's a huge question mark around, can Andy Dalton get it done? But the reality is this, and Brian, you know this. As a player, all we want is a chance. We want a chance to be able to make a play. We want a chance to be able to help the team. We also want a chance to make it to the playoffs. So when we walk in and we're not eliminated, we're still fighting. We're still scratching. We're still clawing. We don't care how we get in. We just want to get in. We know it's hard to win a game in the National Football League. So for these guys to be looking at this division and seeing that we're still in it, we can easily win this division. Oh, you best believe that they're going to be doing everything they can to get wins and stack them back to back to back, because every team has the same goals outside of a few little things here. Like, we want to lead the league in third down conversions. We want to be top 5 in red zone offense or defense, et cetera, et cetera. What we say every single year is win a division. Win a division, and then once you get in, then there's goals like we want home field advantage. And then there's go win the Super Bowl. So they can still win a division. This is a real thing, Kevin.
Hey, how good is Andy Dalton? We know that he went 50-26. And then he flipped it around. He said, let me see what losing will be like. And then he went 20-34. So we've seen both sides of the coins. He was 11-5 for a while. Then he had some bad seasons. The next thing you know, Joe Burrow's there. But so, Brian, when I look around the NFL, he's going to be 33. He's not washed. And I look around the NFL, I say, like, Andy Dalton's a lot better than a lot of these quarterbacks. So the idea that the season is just a loss, if they can straighten out their defense, and Nick thinks that they can't, but if Mike Nolan is the genius that everybody says he is, you make a few defensive adjustments, all of a sudden you win your division, all of a sudden, like, you're in the playoffs, you start to get a little bit dangerous. So I'm actually like, I guess I think the Cowboys are going to be not as good as they were with Dak, but I'm not even close to being willing to give up the Cowboys ship.
Well, I don't want to give up on the entire season because Dak isn't there, but the expectation was with Dak, to Nick's point, is that we're a Super Bowl team. We're at least a couple games into the playoffs, that ability to play and that good of a season. When you talk about this defense, not even just Andy Dalton, when you talk about this defense, they're still good enough to win the NFC East and lose in the first round of the playoffs. Andy Dalton can come in and be a serviceable bet. He has good players around him. I don't expect this big drop-off on the offense. The issue here, to everyone's point, is the defense has been bad. If this defense can be halfway decent, maybe they win the first round of the playoffs. Maybe they get a chance in the second round. But if this defense continues to play like they're playing, they're good enough to win the NFC East, but certainly lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so a couple things. I want to be clear here. I do believe the Cowboys will win the NFC East. and end up being like the 20th best team in football, because the other teams in the NFC East are going to be in the bottom 7 or 8 teams in the league. But Wilds, I don't think Dalton is terrible, but you know who you have more faith in Andy Dalton than Andy Dalton has in Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton
I believe in him.
was a free agent. He was a free agent. He could have gone anywhere. He went to play for a team whose quarterback had never missed a game, only missed 2 snaps, because it's close to his hometown in Katy, Texas, about a 3-hour drive. He's like, I already own property down there. I like it down there. I can be a mentor. Andy Dalton wasn't like, you know what? I'm going to revisit the 2014 me. He's like, no. I'm in the backup phase of my career. It's been a good run. I've enjoyed it, made a lot of money.
Sure.
We'll see if I play a few games. And Wilds is out here. Andy Dalton's watching the show like, damn, I underestimated myself. No, he estimated himself properly, and which is why he went to go sign for the Cowboys, Jenna.
All right, Brian, thanks so much, as always. Sorry for the knock on Villanova. That was all Nick's fault.
That's wrong.
Talking about a fired-up Tampa Tom as he gets ready for Rodgers and the perfect Green Bay Packers. This is First Things First.
Talking myself into these.
From the incredible WWE Thunderdome for the first time ever on SmackDown, a Universal Championship match. Reigns versus Strowman on the season premiere of SmackDown, beginning with a kickoff show at 7:30 Eastern on Fox.
Back here, First Things First, time for stories to start your morning. Sponsored by Midas, open since 1956. To say Tom Brady has been vocal on the sidelines this season is an understatement. He's been caught on camera multiple times calling out his teammates. We saw him throw his tablet, calling, for downs that don't exist. So what does his head coach think about all of it? Take a listen to this.
When you see Brady get fired up, yelling at some of his offensive linemen for the penalties that were committed on Thursday night, do you like that? Do you understand that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How do you gauge that type of interaction between your quarterback and his offensive line?
Just be yourself. I don't have any problem with it. At least I don't have to go back there and cuss them out. They've already got the air full by the time I get over there. So Tom's got to be Tom. I'm not going to ask him to be somebody different. He does a good job of patting him on the back, too. He might explode, but he's going to go down there and pat him on the back and get him going.
All right, Brandon, what did you make of what Bruce Arians had to say?
Look, I'm going to try not to let Nick get my blood pressure up during this last segment, okay? Because I know he's going to come out and try to crush Tom Brady, and I'm going to have to defend Tom Brady as the GOAT. So I'm just going to give the facts. What do we know about Tom Brady the last 20 years? He understands discipline. He loves structure. He thrives in it. And now when you look at what he's dealing with in Tampa, he's dealing with a team that is not disciplined. They weren't last year. They led the team in penalties last year. And, they're on track to lead the team again in penalties. I think it's like 42 penalties so far throughout this year. And then also like 400 and something yards given up off of those penalties, which they lead in that category as well. So, of course, he's going to be frustrated. Of course, he's going to hold his team accountable. He's supposed to. That is his job. And him doing that on this team shows why they were able to win 6 Super Bowls in New England, because he did the same thing. So we can't be fickle here, guys. We can't say, this is what makes Tom Brady great and highlight him on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and say, look, this is what a leader is when they're winning the game. But when they're losing, now we want to bash him. So Tom Brady needs to be who Tom Brady is. We saw this in Denver when Peyton Manning went there. I remember calling my guys in Denver, and I'm like, Elvis, tell me about Peyton Manning. Is he really that smart? He said, bro, it's next level. He'll come out to practice. He'll take the script off of Cool's hands and say, look, we're not running that. This is what we're going to do. It worked for them then. Okay, they won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady has shown these guys how to win and how to win consistently, and you have to eliminate those mistakes and those distractions within the whistle.
So a couple things, Brandon. When Peyton Manning was in Denver, he was still awesome. He won unanimous league MVP in his second year. And I'm yet to see that from Brady. Second of all, when Peyton Manning was in Denver, I think he was taking the play sheet out of Adam Gase's hands, who he might have been drooling on it, so that was probably a good thing for all involved. But maybe more importantly is this.
That's too much.
It's too much. It's a bridge too far. Oh, we got to be nice to Adam Gase today. Let's get Le'Veon Bell.
No. Before you go, because I want you to paint the right picture. Before you go, paint the right picture. Peyton Manning couldn't throw a spiral. Peyton Manning couldn't throw it 30 yards down the field. Okay, the first year Peyton Manning threw 30 touchdowns and 11 picks.
Right, 30 touchdowns, 11 picks, and then the next year was the 55-touchdown year. It's right. It didn't fall off for Peyton until year 4. But the problem for Brady is this. Can we show it? I just want to. You guys haven't seen this yet. These are 2 quarterbacks. And, you know, one's a yeller, one not so much. I think we have the graphic. And you might say, okay, that's somewhat equivalent. I don't know who's better there. You could argue one or the other. Both seem to have an issue with turnovers. Both can chunk it down the field a bit. It's through 5 games. Who are those quarterbacks, please?
Gardner Minshew.
So that's Jameis last year and Brady this year. Now, that's not totally fair to Tom because it leaves off the 2 categories he leads the NFL in pick sixes and forgetting the downs. But I just think it is tough when you are part of the problem for your team, Brandon, to then be dog cussing guys on the sideline. I think when he's doing it to Edelman and Gronk, they've won Super Bowls together, and Brady wasn't making the level of mistakes he's currently making in Tampa. Like, that doesn't seem to resonate with you, but I don't know why it wouldn't. Like,
it does.
If Brandon Marshall's...
But we can deal with a bad play. Yeah, Tom Brady had some bad plays, but we can't deal with, the pre-snap penalties. We can't continue to line up in 3rd and 13, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20. We have no chance. Those are pre-snap penalties. What happens in New England when you jump off sides? What happens in New England when you do these things? You take off and run a lap. Why? Because there's no chance of winning any game when you're leading the lead in penalties. So, yes, we can deal with, a fumble here and there. We can deal with a guy throwing a pick. We can deal with those things because you also know that he can come out and throw 5 touchdowns. We also know that special teams can make a play, but we cannot hurt ourselves by not controlling the things we can control.
So, Brandon, I want to show you a graphic, and then I want to get your response to something. Hold on one second, Nick. Can we show the penalty graphics of how many yards the Bucs have given up versus how many yards the Patriots have given up?
That's crazy.
Granted, like we missed a game.
That's insane.
We've only given up 17 yards. So, Brandon, this goes back a little bit to last year when Brady was complaining about the weapons, and it was just kind of like, we don't have the weapons. Did you feel empowered as a wide receiver to go up and criticize a quarterback? Like, we didn't see the Bucs, as Jameis was throwing the ball mostly to the other team last year, really criticize Jameis. So do you feel like if you were on that team, you would feel like you could talk to Tom Brady, or you could criticize Tom Brady, or you could get mad at Tom Brady, or do you have to just be silent because the guy's got 6 rings?
One thing I know is that Tom Brady can take it. We heard the stories, right? For 20 years, he sat in the front row, and Bill Belichick would put up his bonehead plays and call him out. Why are you holding up 4 fingers? It's not 4th down. Bill Belichick would have had that on display in front of that entire organization come Monday morning. So I know Tom Brady is built for it, but here's what I would say, Wilds. If I'm in that locker room and the GOAT walks in there, I'm doing what he can tell me to do whatever. I'll run through a brick wall because I want to win a championship, and I know this guy knows how to win a championship. And he is showing us how to do it every single day. Downs? You can't take a play off. Tom Brady's retired. If he put up 5, he needs to retire. If he puts up 5, it's over.
Again, if he does it again. I do think, Wilds, the point you made is an important one, and I just want to put a button on it. It is clear last year Tom Brady didn't have a full complement of weapons, and he was really frustrated by it. But what he did have, and what he had his entire run in New England, was the most disciplined, detail-oriented team in the league. And what I think he's learning in Tampa is you might have all these fun toys to play with, all these great weapons, but to Brandon's point, if your center's headbutting a guy and getting a 15-yard penalty, it doesn't much matter. So I do think some of the criticism Belichick got last year for not giving Brady enough weapons around him should maybe be pulled back a bit retroactively, because while he didn't have weapons, he had a smart, disciplined team, as they do every year, that could make do without the weapons because they weren't in 3rd and 15s. They weren't in these impossible situations, Jenna, because they had shot themselves in the foot.
All right, from the GOAT in one sport to the GOAT debate in another. Yesterday, we had a lively discussion about Jordan versus LeBron. Nick, your social media was blowing up with both sides chiming in. This tweet, right, about what the media doesn't want you to know, this clip got over 1 million views. So, Nick, I have to ask, do you think you changed anyone's opinion yesterday?
Here's what I think, Kevin Wildes. I think that I drove Michael Jordan's unfavorables up. Michael Jordan's like mini first lady in this country. Like, you do a poll on it, and it's like nobody disapproves. It's like 84% approve, 2% disapprove, and 14% have no opinion. I feel like this morning, you asked someone about Michael Jordan, most people are like, yeah, he was really, really good at basketball. But I feel like a few people, Wildes, are like, did you know he never beat Larry Bird in a playoff game, ever? Like, not one time. I feel like that is now out there. And
You're
so,
terrible.
I do think, and like I said, I didn't want to have to do it, Kevin, but I think Michael Jordan's unfavorables in this election season have gone up a bit.
You know what, Brandon? I thought it was dirty pool. When he threw up, like, people that won championships during Michael Jordan's tenure, and he's putting up Wizards Jordan, who's walking around with a Great Gatsby mustache, as being part owner of the team. That is not fair. That is not the Michael Jordan we're talking about. The years that he actually played, not the years where he came in on a farewell tour. You're not be like, wow, the Rolling Stones aren't that good because they're 70 years old. Those don't count. Can't say Tim Duncan won a championship on Jordan's watch.
Well, I must say, good job. After you did this, I was like, Nick, why would you go this way? Why would you bash the GOAT when you talk so well about LeBron? And then you went viral. So good job, buddy. Good job.
He knew what he was doing.
I didn't know Wizard Jordan doesn't count.
We're done for today. Back here tomorrow.